Brooke Shields. One of Michael Jackson's most public early courtships. Photographed arm in arm on several red carpets, they were pitched as one of Hollywood's most promising power couples during the height of Jackson's 80s pop dominance. But away from the flashing light bulbs, reporters, and screaming fans, what genuine connection did the two rising stars actually have? Was their close bond simply a platonic friendship, an innocent crush, unrequited love, or a passionate affair? Here's the detail. The very first time the two met was at the 1981 Academy Awards, an event that Michael Jackson attended with Diana Ross as his date. Urged by mother and manager Terry Shields, who encouraged Brooke to socialize with celebrities at such star-studded events, the 15-year-old boldly went straight up to Michael and introduced herself, asking him if he wanted to dance with her. Michael Jackson later recalled the encounter, quote, "Before meeting her, her pictures were all over my walls and mirrors. She just came up to me and said, 'Hi, I'm Brooke Shields. Are you going to the after party?' I said, 'Yeah,' and I just melted. I was about 23 during Off the Wall. I thought, does she know that photographs of her are all over my room? And we went on the dance floor. And man, we exchanged numbers and I was up all night, spinning around in my room, just so happy." From that initial encounter, Michael Jackson and Brooke Shields formed a close bond and instantly became friends. She would often visit him unannounced at his family's Havenhurst estate, making both his sisters LaToya and Janet so jealous that they tore down Michael's pictures of the starlet and called her giraffe butt. Brooke Shields was beautiful and, at the time, was young Hollywood's most prominent it girl. They found a common bond, having been brought up in the spotlight with overbearing stage parents. Michael always felt that unless someone had sacrificed their childhood for stardom, they could never really understand him. That is why he was so drawn to people like Brooke, as well as later on with the likes of Elizabeth Taylor and Macaulay Culkin, choosing to surround himself with former child stars, old and new. Even though she was only a teenager, Brooke Shields already embodied the presence of a classic movie star. She was elegant, classy, pure, and well-mannered, all the qualities that Michael Jackson valued. Terry Shields, ever the stage mom, realized that her daughter's fledgling acting career could only benefit from being seen with a popular performer, so she encouraged Brooke to socialize with Michael more in public. Always the obedient daughter, Brooke complied with her mother's wishes. Speaking about their relationship, Michael Jackson recalled that Brooke Shields asked me out every time you saw us out together. It was her idea to go out and do it every time. I sincerely liked Brooke Shields too. I liked her a lot. Brooke Shields was one of the loves of my life, and we dated a lot." Already part of the Hollywood set and with a career of her own, Michael felt comfortable appearing in public with her as he knew she could be trusted and not become overwhelmed by the intense media interest their association would inevitably cause. Undeniably, having a beautiful woman on his arm only served to boost his public appeal and help squash more sordid rumors that had been following him for years. For Michael, attending such high-profile events with Brooke meant that the hesitant star always had a shoulder of support by his side, especially during the soaring heights of Thriller and the overwhelming public attention it caused for the artist. However, for the 1984 Grammy Awards, it was Brooke who, again, asked Michael to consider taking her with him. According to Michael's sister LaToya, he was very upset as he wanted to take Diana Ross instead. Yet in the end, he agreed to take Brooke because ultimately, he didn't want to hurt her feelings. After the show, in which Michael won a record 8 Grammy Awards, he hosted a private party at a downtown restaurant, but Michael and Brooke ducked out early and left at about 11:30 p.m. Michael took Brooke and her mother to their hotel and went home shortly after, leaving Brooke disappointed that he wasn't going to spend the night with her. Although at the time they were stated as dating, it was unclear whether they shared a mutual attraction towards each other that could have sparked a genuine adult relationship. Both stated over the years that they had been attracted to each other but were elusive about whether anything physical happened between them. Brooke said around the time, quote, "It's hard to say if it's platonic or not. We both had crushes on each other at times." Ola Ray, Michael Jackson's on-screen girl for his Thriller video, recalled that when they were working together that Jackson was clearly into Brooke Shields and kept teasing her about Shields visiting the set. Although she was in showbiz since she was very young, Brooke was very naive when it came to sex. Still a virgin, Michael expressed that he wouldn't want to sleep with her if he was not going to marry her. Brooke was like a porcelain doll to Michael. He knew she was pure, innocent, and he didn't want to tarnish her. Though gorgeous, Brooke struggled with body image issues as a young woman and remained a virgin until she was 22. However, she did become increasingly curious about sex and more interested in Michael than she cared to admit publicly. In his autobiography Moonwalk, Jackson said his relationship with Shields was, quote, romantically serious for a while, later stating that she was the one who initiated sex with him. Quote, we had one encounter when she got real intimate and I chickened out, and I shouldn't have. Brooke Shields mentioned how amazing Michael was with her decision to go to college, and how curious he was about the whole experience. When she started having boyfriends, she would confide in him about her intimate experiences. She said, quote, he was like a little kid who talked about the bases, what first base was, what second base was, and his curiosity was understandable given his guarded life. I went to high school and college, and I forced that into my life, and he didn't have that luxury. I think he just always felt it was too unattainable for him. After Brooke Shields graduated from Princeton in 1987, Michael would, in passing, speak about the two marrying and raising adoptive children together. However, the suggestions were met with disapproval from Shields, who felt such a move would have, quote, divided her life too much. She held romantic notions about marriage, and in her own words, she wanted, quote, the fairy tale. She wanted to marry out of love, and Brooke knew that Michael Jackson was not really in love with her because he was still madly in love with Diana Ross. She recalled, quote, there were times when he would ask me to marry him, and I would say, you have me for the rest of your life. You don't need to marry me. I'm going to go on, have my own marriage and my own kids, and you'll always have me. Over the coming years, the two maintained a close bond. Brooke was his date for Elizabeth Taylor's 7th wedding, which took place at Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch in 1991. Around this time, Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash stated that he was introduced to Brooke by Jackson as his girlfriend, before leaving him in the studio to go out for dinner with his longtime companion. Brooke recounted, quote, we used to go out to restaurants. It was madness, but at least we could get to a restaurant and be at a table. Entering and leaving the restaurant was a mess, but we could at least do that. During his 1993 sit-down interview with Oprah Winfrey, Jackson told the talk show host that he was dating and, quote, in love with Shields, explaining the two weren't seen out together because they were keeping their relationship private. Quote, we try not to just be everywhere and go everywhere. It's mostly at home. She'll come over and I'll go to her house because I don't like going out in public. In response, Brooke Shields stated her deep affections and admiration for Michael, but wasn't explicit when it came to the nature of their relationship. When also questioned by Winfrey, quote, we are closer now than we ever were. I think we love each other more now than we knew we did when we were younger. Just a few weeks later, Brooke accompanied Michael once again to the Grammys, where he received the Grammy Legend Award from his sister, Janet Jackson. However, soon after, Michael Jackson found himself at the center of a salacious press thunderstorm when Jackson faced charges after a 13-year-old boy accused him of child molestation. With sponsors dropping out and record sales on a steep decline, Jackson was under pressure to do some major damage control as an attempt to repair his tarnished public image. One suggestion was that he had to get married in order to promote a more conventional, heterosexual image. Therefore, during a phone conversation with Brooke Shields, Michael made a serious proposal of marriage to her, but at the time she was dating the well-known tennis player Andre Agassi, with whom she was in love with and later married in 1997. Brooke was in her late 20s, and by then she was out of the whole Hollywood scene. She wanted to have a somewhat private life and knew what Michael was going through, even before any false molestation rumors started, and didn't want to be a part of that lifestyle. When Brooke declined his offer, Michael Jackson then went on to ask Lisa Marie Presley to marry him instead, in which she accepted. When asked about Michael Jackson's marriage to Lisa Marie, Brooke stated, quote, I think we're not dealing with conventions, so somebody like Michael, he's not going to just fall in love with somebody and get married. I think there were a few people that he could identify with, and what I know about Lisa Marie, she was very sweet. She could identify with him. They could talk about things that I'm sure she understood with regards to her father. From that point onwards, Brooke and Michael lost touch. Brooke remarried in 2001 and had a baby, but suffered severe postpartum depression to the point she was suicidal. When she spoke publicly, Michael Jackson sent her flowers. Quote, at every major event in my life, he reached out to me. Whether if it was when my dad died or when I had my first daughter, we'd speak, and then it got more and more difficult to reach him. And some of the people in his life that I could call to get him, they were fired or they left or they went away, and in the last few years, it was harder to get the right number to get through to him. I was worried about him financially. I was worried about the kids. I was worried about his health. I always worried about his health because I thought he was just too skinny. At the time of Jackson's death in 2009, the pair had not seen each other for 16 years. In July 2009, she gave a very memorable and emotional eulogy at Michael Jackson's memorial service, reminiscing about their time together. Quote, "Whenever we were out together, the caption usually said something like an odd couple or an unlikely pair, but to us, it was the most natural and easiest of friendships. Michael always knew he could count on me to support him or be his date, and that we would have fun no matter where we were. We had a bond. Both of us needed to be adults very early, but when we were together, we were two little kids having fun." In her 2018 memoir, There Was a Little Girl, Shields would describe her relationship with Jackson as a safe escape. Quote, "Of course, we loved each other, but nothing happened romantically. He was terrified and sort of juvenile. I think there was an arrested development. We just felt safe with each other. We watched movies and ate candy and laughed at the craziness around us. We loved each other, but it was not at all romantic. I like to think that I was a good friend to him. That's the way it always was, and our friendship never altered. It just stayed the course. No matter what was happening, the one thing that whenever we got on the phone with each other, he would just giggle or laugh and say, 'Oh, Brooke,' and I was consistent, and I think that was important for both of us. I've always maintained what a pure soul he was."